After watching the glorious piece of art that was episode 7, something just didn't sit right with me. And after watching a review of the episode by my fellow creator Yagsterr, I realized what it was. Hello everyone, my name is Blooper, and today I'm joined by Yagsterr, and we'll be discussing why Tessa being Sin doesn't work. First off, at the end of episode 3, when Tessa was first introduced, she was the first example of a human in the show, and her actions and goals were meant to align with JC Jensen, as it was quite prominently shown that she was a technician and came to Copper 9 to do maintenance work. Unfortunately, right after she was hyped up, there were no signs of her in episode 4 besides a vague hologram. And then in episode 5, we spent time getting to see Tessa in the past, which begs the question, if Tessa used to love robots, why was she seen killing one at the end of episode 3? This question was never truly answered, but as we learnt more, Tessa became more endearing and likable. And in episode 6, the conflicts arise between N's love for Uzi and her noble goal of saving the universe from the Solver. But then in episode 7, it all falls apart. When we truly met Tessa back in episode 5, we got to know her as a character, witness her background and personality that was unchanged when we saw her in episode 6. However, after building this heroic, unique character, they threw all of it out the window and revealed that it was Sin mimicking her the entire time, which makes her actions very questionable. Now I have a theory that can negate this point, but it's questionable at best. Anyways, Tessa was a wasted opportunity of a character that was thrown to the side for the sake of shock factor. After reading the script for C2 Strain, one of Liam's other projects, it seems he has a thing for twist villains, as seen in the story with the character of Salem. Now, C2 Strain could get a video of its own, but in short, Salem was a sort of mentor figure for the protagonists, and just before the start of the third act, she betrays her team and kills most of them besides the main duo. Salem, revealed to be infected by the titular C2 strain, reveals that she was the one who eradicated uninfected human colonies to make sure that only the infected remain. Sound familiar? Unlike Tessa, Salem's betrayal was set up in a way where it made sense with the information presented at the time in the story. Hot take incoming, but if it were up to me, I'd have Jay be the twist villain. The episode could have given hints as to her faltering allegiance, and it would have been far more compelling as we already knew that Sin was still her administrator. Not to mention, we never truly saw what happened to the original Jay's core in episode 2. Tessa did demonstrate some oddities that I pointed out in the previous video, but nothing too concrete to fully suggest her true identity. From a character standpoint, to have Tessa masking as this always positive, friendly member of the main cast whilst hiding her true feelings of hatred and spite would have been much more interesting. Having Tessa get to know Uzi throughout episode 6 and later be conflicted with the choice to save her, knowing she's infected with the thing that ruined her life, or save the entire universe, would have been a much more impactful arc for her. The internal struggle she has to deal with, being her despite against the Solver versus the bonds and connections she's made, would have been far more emotionally captivating. And maybe, in an alternate episode 7, Jay reveals herself as Sin and kills Tessa after she makes the decision to save Uzi, which would have been great for shock factor, and would make Tessa's character feel more human, which is what she should have been. Alright, I've done enough talking for now. Take it away, Yag.
During the course of the show, the general dichotomy between Tessa and the main group slowly turned into a generic good versus evil story. We follow N and Uzi's journey throughout the show, and they become pretty familiar to us. Then when Tessa's thrown into the picture, it really flips the story on its head. There's a lot of confliction for you as a viewer. You have the protagonists who want to save each other and we've spent a lot of time with, but on the other hand, you have Tessa, and she wants to save humanity. She aims to be selfless, but not everything's all sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be sacrifice, which, by morality standards, is a pretty virtuous thing. As far as we can see it, everyone involved has pretty good intentions. N and Uzi are the main protagonists, but this makes Tessa look like a villain from their perspective. The opportunity for Tessa's character could have been so much more than just the ends justified the means. Especially when you take into account how much she cared for her drones back in Elliot Manor, especially N. You would think she'd be a lot more hesitant about having to work against her friend, but none of this is taken into account for her. When you consider the fact that she knows about the patch, it really becomes apparent that she's not that good either. Tessa not telling them about the patch only serves to antagonize her, which makes the viewer more likely to side against her rather than with her. This really weakens the story because, on a morality scale, Tessa's in the right. She has to save her entire species from being extinct, and she's in the right to kill Uzi. But because of the perspective we're seeing it from, she's supposed to be in the wrong. The good versus evil story trope is really overused, and it just weakens the storyline.
Now, back to that theory I mentioned earlier. I believe this could explain why Tessa's expressions and personality felt so genuine. It's because they were. This is a bit of a stretch, but what if Tessa was somewhat still alive? retaining her personality while Sin lay dormant, taking control when necessary. I just realized I mentioned this already in the previous Tessa video. It's a copium theory, but it's a copium theory I'm willing to accept. Tessa Elliott was a wasted opportunity for a great character, which is a shame considering the potential she once had as a member of the main crew. Now, I just want to emphasize that I still love this show, and that these changes are only my personal opinion. Murder Drones is still a great series, and although Liam's writing has its flaws, so does everyone's. It's human nature to make mistakes, and learning from them are what makes us who we are. With that being said, thanks to Yagsterr for joining me. My whole world has changed these past couple of days, and it's all thanks to you guys. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. And if you liked the video, maybe like the... Wait, no, I did this already. Anyways, I've been Blooper, and thanks for watching.